Welcome everyone. I am Beatrice Prieto with Saskatchewan Ministry of Environment, and I'm going to present on the 2018 Ferruginous Hawk Range White Nest Search Project. If you're tuning into this recording, it means you're interested in collaborating with us this spring, and I really want to thank you for your interest in advance. I'm going to give you an overview of the project, materials you need, how to choose a block, and what are the next steps. Ministry of Environment, in collaboration with Nature Saskatchewan, applied for Habitat Stewardship Program funding from Environment and Climate Change Canada for a multi-year project that spans 2017 to 2019. The survey work that you will be collaborating with is going to happen in the spring of 2018, and it's going to be locating Ferruginous hawk nests all over the province. We've selected different blocks that I'll be talking about. These locations are going to be used in 2019 by Nature Saskatchewan to start stewardship work with landowners. And the data is also going to be used for starting up population trend monitoring in Saskatchewan, places that we can go back every 5 years to check how the population is doing. What you need to do to volunteer, the first thing you need to do is to watch all training webinars. This is the first one, just an introduction, but there will be 3 others coming up. One about the protocol of how we're going to be surveying. Another one about bird ID, so how to ID birds when they're sitting on the nest. And then the third one is going to be about the app that we're going to be using to collect data in the field. The next thing you need to do, you will get an email link with an application form that you need to fill out and submit. And then once we get that, we can distribute the blocks amongst all the volunteers and all the staff that is going to be working out in the field. You also need a smartphone, and you need to download the free app Survey 123 from Esri. It's not a very heavy one. It's only 54 megabytes of space that you need on your smartphone in order to download this app. And there will be a webinar explaining how you download the forms into the app. The next very important thing that you will need is a scope with a tripod or a window mount. And we know this is going to be a limiting factor. So if you have a scope already, then we will give you a block pretty much immediately. But if you don't have a scope, then we have a limited number available that we will have to figure out how to get to you. So it might take a little bit longer. Then you also need a pair of binoculars to scan as you're driving around. The scope is only going to be used once you find a nest to figure out what bird is sitting on the nest, but for everything else, you're going to need binoculars. And then you're going to need a vehicle. This is a driving survey. We're going to be driving routes on blocks that are the size of a township. You don't need to ask for permission because we're not going to be stepping out of our vehicle or going into anyone's land. But you are going to be selecting what route you're driving within your block, also depending on the kind of vehicle that you're driving and the road conditions. Keep in mind that it's spring, that roads might be wet, so we want to minimize any risks. So please, please, please drive safely. How did we select the block? So I said before that we are not surveying everything in the province. We've selected a bunch of areas that we're interested in going and seeing if there are Ferruginous hawks or not. We've used land cover, so we've used as a selection criteria the right amount of cropland and grassland per block. We've also used eBird and Saskatchewan Conservation Data Center observations throughout, but we haven't selected only blocks that have Ferruginous hawks. So the main message here is you may or may not find Ferruginous hawks in your block, and that is okay. Some blocks will not have Ferruginous hawks, and that was intended that way because we're trying to figure out if the conditions are there, the habitat is there a nest in the area. And that's all okay. We've also tried to incorporate the road network in order to have enough roads to do a road survey. So we're hoping that we have enough roads to drive in every block, but if you encounter any problems, please let us know too. So this is just an overview of the areas that we're surveying. These are the field areas that enforcement officers use. And then we've selected a number of blocks in each of those regions. You see some regions are more densely populated with blocks, some others are very sparse. So keep that in mind when you're selecting areas too that you want to do surveys in. If you're, for example, you're from Regina, there's no blocks available in Regina, but you know you're applying for Fort Capel. If you include Weyburn and Assiniboia on your blocks, the chances of you getting a block are going to be higher because Fort Capel only has 3 blocks. So you know, keep in mind that when we're trying to distribute blocks amongst people, there might be higher probability of you getting a block if you select different areas or if you select areas that have a higher number of blocks. Now, the application that we're going to send to you in a couple of weeks here, it will look like this. You will be required to, you know, input your name and last name, your email address. These are all required fields. The next question that we're going to ask you is how many areas are you interested in? It doesn't mean that you're going to go to all of them, but this is kind of like I would want to go to all of these. Or any region is your first option too if you don't care where we send you in the province. The next question we're going to ask you about materials. So as I said, scopes are going to be a limiting factor. So we're going to ask you if you do have a scope or not. And then if you have a smartphone or not that you can download a free app on. So you'll answer yes or no. You'll send us any additional comments and then we'll get the information. Just for an idea of how many blocks, when we look at the map and we ask you to select areas, the next question is also going to be how many blocks do you think you can do? Taking into account it's a 2-week window, so there's not a lot of window to survey. 1 block will take about 2.5 hours to 3 hours. And in an average day, imagine you're driving about 150 kilometers to get to your area, and the driving distance between the 2 blocks is not huge. You're going to be able to survey 2 blocks in a day. So keeping that in mind, we also ask you to please select an amount of blocks that's reasonable for you. Even if it's too short, you can always apply again. After the first week, you've done your 2 blocks that you applied for. Please feel free to apply again. We rather you do that than apply for too many blocks and then not being able to get to all of them. There's a lot of volunteers that contacted us, and I thank you all guys for that. There's also a lot of staff that's going to be out in the field. There's enforcement officers that are going to be out in the field, so don't feel like you have to ask for too many blocks. So once we receive your application, the next thing that you're going to be receiving is an email with your assigned block. And you're going to receive a package that has everything you need to survey. So it will include a map of your block with coordinates of where you're going to be looking at and a road layer so you can see where you can drive. That's going to include also a backup data sheet in case your phone, for whatever reason, is not working. And then a survey protocol, maybe some tips and tricks. And you will have to print this material and have it with you while you're driving around. We're also going to ask you to sign a service agreement. It's a contract with the ministry that we need to get you reimbursed, and that's my next slide. And then you're also going to want to watch your email closely during April because we're going to let you know when the survey window opens. So because it's weather dependent, it will be the end of April, beginning of May, but we don't really know the date exactly yet. So I will be sending out an email saying, survey can start in the next day or 2. And then also the survey window will end when we can't see stick nests anymore, so when the leaves start to come out. So we will be sending out another email giving you a 1-week warning before it ends. So 1 week left, get out there and try to finish your blocks. So in order to get your expenses reimbursed, I guess we're reimbursing gas. Because, like I said, the amount of volunteers was bigger than we expected. Depending on the number of volunteers we get in the end, we might apply a maximum of 150 kilometers per block to get you your money back for gas. So imagine if you're driving 150 kilometers to get to your block, you might want to do at least 2 blocks and then come back in order to get reimbursed for that full gas. If you drive 150 kilometers and you only do 1 block, then you might only be reimbursed for half of that money. So if you fill up before you leave, and then after you're done, you fill up again, you save that receipt. Please save your receipts. That's what we will use to pay you back. We're also going to provide $20 per person for meals per day, with a maximum of 2 people per team. And you don't need any receipts for that. We'll just give you $20 per person per day. And all the data needs to be submitted to us before we pay expenses, and we're going to be requesting an invoice from you, but we will help you out through that process. Although I've been communicating with you, there's a big team behind this project that I want to mention. Jeff Keith, Conservation Data Center Coordinator, Senior Species at Risk Ecologist. Andrea Benville will be talking to you about the Survey 123 apps. She's our data manager. Janet Ng is doing her PhD on Ferruginous hawks, and she has a wealth of knowledge that she'll be sharing with you through the protocol webinar and also the Bird ID webinar. Also Ryan Fisher, our landscape conservation specialist, Jess Scott, our zoologist, and myself have been involved in organizing this project for you guys. If you have more questions about the survey, please contact me again, and I can answer any questions. Because I will be out in the field and the whole team will be out in the field, I'm giving you another contact in case you have questions or you need support. While you're out in the field, please contact Ed Beveridge, and he'll be your office support there. Again, thank you so much for joining us in this project. It's a big undertaking, and we're really happy to have you on board. And please watch the rest of the webinars. Have fun, enjoy, but please be safe out there. Thank you.